So a couple weeks back, I asked you all to rate every Gravity Falls ship, and the data is in. We had over 1,000 people give their responses, which is absolutely insane, and this video is the result of those ratings. Also, if you want to take part in the next one, the character tier list, the poll for that is open in the description. Go ahead and rate all your favorite and least favorite characters from the show. Now, without any further ado, let's get into all of your spicy takes. Which ship is the best in Gravity Falls? Actually, before we do that, I want to know, who do you think it's going to be? Make a comment below. I want to see which ship people think is going to win. Well, all right, let's find out. Let's just start with the main Mabel ship. She had a lot of crushes throughout the show, but only a few actually got screen time. The first one being from the very first episode, Mabel times the gnomes. So they get F tier. Yeah, I mean, they literally tied her hands and tried to force her into a marriage. Maybe I'm just too set in my ways, but I think that's probably a bad sign for a relationship. Okay, next Mabel ship, Mabel times Gideon. Honestly, this one's not much better. He also tries to force Mabel into an unwilling relationship, this time relying primarily on social pressure, but hey, at least he tried to be better at the end, so he still gets F tier, but like slightly higher. Mabel times Mermando, probably the only main character who actually might have been alright for Mabel. He has a mysterious past, plays guitar, and then loves his family. Classic summer romance material right there, so you all gave him a spot at the top of B tier, and something you might have noticed with this list is that we don't have an A tier. It goes straight from B plus to S, and that is not an accident. There was a really big gap between the top of what I felt was probably best described as B plus and the bottom of the next one, so I decided we just skip A tier entirely. The good ships in Gravity Falls are all just great ships, and everything else is well, it's Mabel times Gabe. I'm so sorry, Mabel. She had a really rough summer, you know? So Gabe also gets F tier, but he takes the top spot because at least he didn't try to force her into a relationship. He just gave his love very conditionally, and also made out with his own puppets. I think when Gabe was a young child, somebody probably asked him, well, if you love puppets so much, why don't you just marry them? And he really took that to heart. But hey, I think inanimate objects are maybe what's best for Gabe to be in a relationship with, given what we saw in the show. So this one gets B+. Blubs and Durland, so pure, so beautifully in love. These two support each other no matter the circumstance, and probably even sometimes when they shouldn't. But my goodness, they are just wonderful, and also a huge step forward in LGBT representation. I mean, these two were being LGBT icons before the state of Oregon legalized gay marriage. That is awesome, and that is an S tier ship right there. Look at them go. Grenda times Marius, the plot twist that nobody saw coming. Or maybe you did, I certainly didn't. But it was pretty good, and though we didn't see much of them throughout the rest of the show, the bits and pieces we do get are both funny and encouraging, so they also take a spot in B+, just barely managing to surpass Gabe and his puppets. Robbie times Tamri. Ooh, okay, this is an interesting one. So it starts with the love potion, basically creating an artificial attraction between the two of them, and there are a lot of ethical concerns there. But after that episode's conclusion, we do see them in a couple of background shots later in the show, seemingly being a couple. And in Journal 3, we get this entry from Mabel that suggests that they were still making out even after the potion's effects wore off, which might have just been the Gravity Falls team way of retconning like the ethical concerns out of the equation. But maybe that was planned from the start. I don't really know. In any case, these two edgy teens end up in B tier together. Okay, Robbie, Wendy. Yeah, no. So, of course, Robbie is an overly attached, insecure boyfriend around Wendy, but also, contrastingly, like, doesn't seem to care about her at all. It's like he cares about the idea of her, but not actually her. Like, when they're together, he's routinely ignoring her and the details of her life, and then he uses mind control to keep her in the relationship when she starts figuring out he's a bad boyfriend. Oh, that's just disgusting, but less disgusting than Gabe, I guess. So they take D tier and a classic woodpecker times woodpecker guy. They get B+. I guess B+ is that's the meme ship tier. And speaking of meme ships, Waddles times Gompers. They're so cute. Look at them just prancing around. S. Okay, maybe it's just because we all love Waddles. Anyway, Rumble Mix Skirmish times Giffany. We don't get much content for them, but as of Journal 3, they are confirmed canon, which is awesome. Something about their mutual desire for pixelated destruction just really makes me like this ship. But their lack of screen time... I'm sorry. That ends up with them in B tier. Seuss times Giffany. Yeah, Giffany is a little problematic, but her eyes can sparkle really, really hard, and one could argue that she was like really boosting his self-confidence for the 16 straight hours he played her game, so she just barely escapes F tier and claws her way up into D tier. Now, Seuss and Melody, on the other hand, they are like couples goals. Oh my goodness, they are so great for one another. Like, not only are they interested in similar things, they also just like are super supportive of one another. They make each other smile, and Seuss is thinking about proposing. So yeah, they get S tier. Now there is just one more ship on this list that got into S tier, and I'm not going to spoil whether it or Seuss Melody takes the top spot, but they are both fantastic. What I will say, however, is that it was not Stan and Lazy Susan. They had about one episode of build-up, which felt kind of weird because it occupied an entire B-plot, and there was like a throwaway joke later that it turned out Stan didn't actually want to be in a relationship with her. I don't know, it just felt kind of weird to me, but I guess they can't all be S tier, so this one got B. Ford times McGucket. I feel like this one got a lot of good content in the Book of Bill. Like, we knew they were working partners, but McGucket saves his life, but is sad because he's alone on Christmas, and then Ford throws a little Christmas party for him so he won't be sad, and it's so cute. But despite that, they only take a spot in C tier, and if we look at the data and get on our wait a second, it's been so long since I got to say this. Okay. Everyone, get your stats hats on because we're about to learn some data. So if we look at the responses for this ship, we can see our data follows what's called a bimodal distribution. Bi stands for two, like bicycles that have two wheels, or binoculars that have two lenses to look through. And mode is just a math term meaning like most common. So the term bimodal means there's like two data points that happen most often. And I think these two peaks that we see in our data here come from people who have read the Book of Bill and people who haven't. So the two kind of cancel each other out, and that's why this ship ends up in C tier, I think. Now, interestingly, the next ship, 4 times Bill, actually grabbed a spot in B tier. Now, Bill does have a soft spot for Ford, and certainly before, the attempted destruction of our universe, Ford really looked up to Bill, but yeah, things didn't go so well after that. Bill is, he's just a goofy little triangle made for kids. Bill times Dipper. You gotta hand it to them. They know how to dress in style, but despite the internet's propensity for fanfic centered around these two, they didn't even make it into D tier. In fact, they were the second lowest rated ship in the entire form. I guess I just haven't really reached the Bipper shippers of the fandom yet. Okay, wait, that's such a funny name. Bipper shippers. Well, anyway, up next is Candy times Dipper. This one fared a little better, but not much. Yeah, Candy gets this sudden crush on Dipper, and he does not return it, and then the other girls kind of force it on him, and it's just kind of an awkward situation from the start. I guess that's how it goes in middle school, though, so they get the top spot in D tier. Probably not something worth being too proud of. Wendy times Dipper. So part of me has always wondered why they put this one in the show. Like, I get having a multi-season crush, especially one that feels unattainable, in addition to being engaging writing that's also just like life sometimes. And I also understand that they had to write one that wouldn't work so that other themes that the show developed could take the focus at the end of summer when they say goodbye, but like, why did they choose to make it an age gap? I just never did quite figure out why they made that decision, but, well, I guess that's the show. And I would say, despite giving Dipper this crush, it handles the ship remarkably well. Like, that is such dangerous waters they decided to try to do, but every time it comes up as a serious plot point, they take it seriously and point out that the age gap does not work, so it balances out into C tier. And our final ship, Dipsifica! Yes! I love this ship so much. I mean, come on. Pacifica's development is fantastic, and it's inspired by Dipper's belief in her. That is so awesome. And just listen to how happy she sounds when he comes back.
Dipper, you came back!
Oh, they're so cute! So, yeah, I'm happy to report that you all gave them a spot in S tier where they belong, but not quite the very top. That title goes to Seuss and Melody, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, okay, I wouldn't be upset if Dipsifical was number one. I'm just saying, but that's the ship tier list based on all of your ratings. I hope you've enjoyed this, and thank you, as always, for watching.